Welcome back to another topic. This one is a particularly interesting topic for today. And the reason being is because it has such grave consequences. All right, so the question of the day is which is more dangerous, ignorance or censorship? Now, I had this discussion with my son very recently in one of our regular weekly talks. And the idea came to me that there are so many complaints about ignorance. And ignorance is this, well, to give a definition of ignorance, it is when you are in control of your known unknowns, but you actually make the conscious decision not to, let's say, learn about something, right? So there's this idea that, oh, this person, let's say, might be ignorant on a particular topic because they've chosen not to educate themselves any further on it. Censorship, on the other hand, is when someone else is in control of your known unknowns or what you are aware that you don't know. So instead of you being in control and making the choice, let's say, not to learn something, someone else is actually in charge of whether they're going to actually release that information to you or not. So that's not even your decision anymore. So that's the definition of ignorance, and that's the definition of censorship. And my question for you is, which is more dangerous? Now, you probably need a little bit of a background. And the background is this idea of the learning cycle. And the learning cycle is anytime you actually learn anything, you go through this cycle of how you actually are aware that you don't understand or know something, all the way to just knowing it without even thinking about it. So to give a little recap of that for the learning cycle, you start out in a place of unconscious incompetence. That pretty much means you don't know what you don't know. But let's say you become aware of a topic or a question, let's say in a conversation, then you move into this area of conscious incompetence. That means you're aware that there's something that you don't know. And this is where ignorance exists. So you're aware of something that you don't know, but that's where you choose to stay. You don't keep moving that cycle. You just kind of stay there. You say, you know what, it's not important enough for me to go any farther. I'm just going to couch that and leave that for, let's say, another day. So that's where that exists. Now, censorship also exists there. But the difference is, in order to get to the next piece, which is conscious competence, which means you're actually aware of what the question is and you actually know the answer, that's where you get the right information to be able to make that decision. And when you have that, if you have ignorance, you can make that choice of, you know what, now I want to know the solution. So you actually go and get it. But if censorship has a hold of you, well, until that information gets released, you can't do anything more about it. And then from this idea of conscious competence is unconscious competence. This is muscle memory. This is knowing something without even thinking about it. So it's knowing how to breathe, not having to think about going up the stairs, things that are just automatically programmed in your subconscious, and you just do it without even kind of thinking about it at all. So that's what's at stake. That's what's at stake. And, well, I have a question for you. Which is more dangerous? So my son was scratching his head about this one because he wasn't really sure how to answer. He's like, Dad, I don't know. But then I gave him a few use cases to consider with it. And then all of a sudden things made more sense. So use cases to think about it. A woman's right to choose whether she wants to have a baby or not. Is that something that she should have the decision with? Or is that something that should be censored? And with the laws that we actually have, I think you already know kind of what the plan or the deal is with that. Another use case is financial education in school. Do you wonder why so many people are not good with finances? It's not something that's taught in school. But there's a particular reason why it's not taught in school. And it's not because the people there aren't essentially had the education or information to actually teach it. It's just not something that they have as a part of the curriculum. Then the other piece is financial education at work. I know this may make sense, but when do they actually talk about retirement where you work? Is it something that's a super big deal if you're young, or does it get to be a really big deal when you get older? So those are three use cases to kind of wrap this up in, which is going to be kind of a bigger point for you in regards to ignorance or censorship. I thought about ignorance, and ignorance really comes down to a lack of education or a lack of access to education. And censorship becomes, or can be boiled down to, a restriction to freedom. If ignorance is a lack of education or lack of access to education, And censorship is a restriction of freedom, which is worse. Not having the opportunity to educate yourself, or being told that, you don't have the freedom of education. So that's what I kind of wanted to boil down today. That's what I wanted to kind of have the topic about. And I'm anxious to hear what you think about it, because I think this is a pretty big deal and not something that gets talked often enough. So I hope you appreciate the topic. I hope you have something to share. If you do, please leave in the comments below. And I appreciate you tuning in, and hope to catch you on the next episode. All right. So until then, bye.